Oh, snap. It's time to yap. And I'm your host, Big C, and welcome to another episode of Just Yappin'. Today's episode is sponsored by Dubby Energy Drink. Use the code XT0419, that's XT0419, to get 10% off any Dubby Energy drink or their merchandise. That's Dubby, Dubby, and get yours today. Today's episode is on Halloween, where everything gets spooky out there, right? Or All Hallows Eve before All Saints Day. We're going to talk about how it was for us back in the day. The costumes, different costumes, the house party. Who can forget the house parties, right? And all the good stuff. Mischief Night. I don't know if a lot of people out there know about Mischief Night, but I know people my age and maybe in the 30s, 40s, maybe you might know about Mischief Night. And the last I'll cover up is safety. Safety for Halloween, how to make sure that you young teens and the little guys are safe out there with with your parents and carrying flashlights and all that other stuff. I'm going to hit on all that. I'm going to yap about that stuff, all right? So we begin All Hallows Eve before All Saints Day, which is November 1 and November 2. All Hallows Eve, I think, if I did my research correct, was like in the Ireland, Scotland kind of area. We're going way back. And it was basically to not celebrate, but to remember those who have passed by maybe celebrating, giving treats, candies, and stuff like that. And just kind of celebrating their lives to remember them, that they're not here, obviously, right? And some other different cultures and things do it differently. I know like places like Mexico do Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, and they paint their faces like skeletons, and they dress, with beautiful colors, and they celebrate. I think for them, it's more the gates of heaven will open up so you can revisit your family members that have passed, and spend some time with them by celebrating their lives, eating, drinking, and dancing. And of course, as the years went on, All Hallows Eve or Halloween changed a lot, right? The customs of your dress have changed dramatically, right? Now we dress up as superheroes or famous movie star or professional sports player, or they just make up their own thing, which is pretty cool, right? Their ingenuity and their smarts, especially the young kids, come up with really cool stuff, right? Um, so in this day and age, like I know for me, okay, as far as like growing up, I recall the costumes, right, were totally different. I remember like we had the superhero costumes, for the girls it was Wonder Woman, Spider Woman, and Cat whatever, but it was all made of the same material. That it was very thin plastic, but it was spooky, right? Because it was just your eyebrows and then the little things for the nose, right? So you can at least breathe and maybe just a little cutout in the mouth, but it was like plastic. And a lot of us, like myself, had it for, well, as my spider, a lot of us had it for a few years because, as you know, as like my mom couldn't afford stuff to get costumes every year. So I basically wore it out, 2 years, 3 years. And then it was like the bottom piece was like a jumpsuit, but it was like that thin plastic, like a type shower curtain. So if it ripped, and you tape it up or do whatever, or even in the mask, right? If it ripped, it would like cut you or pinch you, and then it had that rubber strap, for the party hats that the kids wear with the cone and that little elastic strap. Well, that was in the back, and then like I used to do it to other kids too. We should just pull it, and we used to get each other back for doing stuff like that. But it was a lot of fun. All the parties I can recall, all the Christmas parties, going as kids like to adult parties and stuff. I mean, they'd go on through the wee hours of the night, and then they would have prizes for the best costume and I mean, those are the days like we miss, days that I wish we can have back. So, we try to pass on the tradition, and then the kids nowadays, dress up as, again, their favorite, superhero villain or favorite sports player or whatever, and they come up with really, really cool costumes. Um, as far as like the costume, I recall my mom one time made me a ghost thing because I grew out of my costume. I was, older. I slipped up, like you can tell I was wearing high waters and I was getting chunkier and all that. So she made me a ghost costume, cut out the eyes, blanket, whatever. And then she put a belt so it wouldn't slip over. And I remember her telling me, if you just so happen to run, make sure you pick it up because it was a little long. Make sure you pick up your ghost blanket, whatever, so you don't trip. Fast forward, I was probably like 7 years old when this happened, getting chased by dogs. We were in a whole group. The dogs started chasing us, and I forgot that my mom had told me to lift up on the bottom. I trip. I had 2 bags full of candy. I trip over head over here, everything. Candy everywhere. So instead of my friends helping me out, what do? Rob me blind my candy. It was great. Like I was mad because they took all my good candy and the Snickers and all that good stuff. But then it was time as we got older, to watch our kids go out and trick or treat. And, unfortunately now costumes are super expensive, right? Costumes are way expensive. Candy is expensive. Now you hardly, we hardly have kids come to our house. We have a huge bag of candy and there aren't kids that really come by. Why? Because some of them do it during the daytime, which is okay. They do trick or treating, or excuse me, or us Latinos used to say trick or treat. So they would go house to house during the daytime because it's probably the safest, even though you do have crazy people out there. People who aren't home because they have to work late would leave a bucket or something in the front, right, full of candy, and then they'll put a sign, Happy Halloween, take one or two, blase. But there have been times where people are so disrespectful and don't care about everyone else that I've seen videos on Instagram and other places like that where grown adults with their children would go and steal a whole thing, dump it in their bag and leave and not leave any for anybody. I think that's disgusting. I think that's uncalled for, but it is what it is. They'll handle theirs one day, right? But still, Halloween, has been a lot of fun when I was growing up, especially, and I know a lot of you can relate out there. Mischief Night, remember that? That was even before Halloween or All Hallows Eve. There was a eve of Halloween, and it was basically not. Now, listen, I'm not telling you guys out there, you young kids, to go out there and start doing it. Maybe planning it for next year. Don't do that. I'm telling you, don't do it. We used to get eggs, shaving cream, and we used to fill up a sock with baby powder. And that sock with baby powder used to be like a ball and chain, and you'd whip it and hit somebody, boom, and it'd be like a powder puff, right? Eggs, shaving cream. When we came home, it was like, forget it. We used to dress up in camouflage, dark colors, paint our faces, and just go get neighborhood kids and go into another town and have egg wars. Awesome. We had a great time. And I just had a coworker. We spoke about this today. He and I, yes, I'm embarrassed, but it was fun. When we were 30, in our 30s, we bought a couple of things of eggs. We went and had Mischief Night on our own. And the cop, I should say, he's retired. He's a good friend of ours. I'm not going to say any names. He was patrolling and he saw us, but he didn't know who it was. He just saw 2 grown men throwing eggs, and it was us. It was chasing us all night. We had the best time of our lives. It was great. But stay, kids, don't do that. All right. And it's just the parties, right? Especially, again, going back to different celebrations. Like if you guys saw the movie Coco, different cultures do it differently, right? I think I did say maybe Mexico, right? They're the ones who do Day of the Dead with they paint their face like skeletons, and they have beautiful colors, and they just, different cultures have different styles and different meanings to celebrating. Not again, I don't mean to say that, but remembering the dead. So I'll continue on by having to say, with Halloween and having fun, you also have to be safe out there, right? We tend to forget that there are people out there who want to do harm to children. It's sad to say, but, and I'm not making this sound like, oh, this is a sad podcast, because no, I'm just giving you, safety warnings and stuff like that. There are people out there who want to do harm to children. And what do? They'll mess with the candy or do something bad. And, I don't want to get the kids scared. Oh, I'm not going out trick-or-treating. No, listen, you go out and you have fun and you do what you need to do and you dress up how you need to dress up and you have a great time. Okay. But I'm just saying, just be careful, especially parents. When they come home and they have their little bags full, and I don't want you to go through all of them, but go through the majority. Dump the bag out and just do a quick, if there's stuff that's already open, obviously. Listen, I'm not talking to parents who are not right. I'm just saying in general, you know what to do. You're a parent, right? Just be careful, because kids right away, they'll throw anything in their mouths to eat, whatever. Just be careful that you saw it, or, okay? Safety for the kids. Make sure you stay with your parents, all right? I know your parents are going to see you, or even the young teens. I know you guys are going to be cool. You're going to be in groups and stuff like that. But as it gets darker, have your cell phone flashlight so people could see you. Cars can see you, right? If you go to a house that there's no lights on and it's super dark, then go. Because I personally would say, if the lights are off, there's nobody there. Don't go inside, right? Or meaning, like, don't go to the house. Stay on the sidewalk. Yeah, stay on the sidewalk. If you're walking around like a neighborhood and stuff like that, like, try to stay close to the curb, whatever, but stay on the sidewalk. Don't go on the street, because people who are driving around neighborhoods and all that, they still want to see, like, oh man, this house is cool. It's lit up really cool. And they got nice blow ups and they have nice animatronics out front. Let's go see. And they're not paying attention. And kids, we tend to, even me, I tend to not look both ways when I cross, right? You guys got to do that. You young kids got to be careful. Like, look both ways before you cross, all right? Listen, I'm not trying to be Mr. Joe Crossing Guard over here and tell you what to do. I'm just giving you guys some safety pointers. Have fun, right? Make sure you trick or treat. Make sure you don't get a sweet tooth and then have to go to the dentist the next day or the next week because you ate too much on one side or you have a sweet tooth, right? Have a lot of fun. These days that are coming, especially after today and then November, right? Because it's quick. We're going from one event to another, right? Just be safe out there. Have a lot of fun. Try to keep all those little memories and all that about Halloween. That's for you guys to celebrate and have a lot of fun. The parties, if you're gonna have a party, like parties will last this past weekend, but still they could be somebody could still have a Halloween party coming up. Just be careful, have a lot of fun. And before I go, again, if you get on Dubby Energy Drink, make sure you use the code to get 10% off, XT0419, for 10% off any Dubby Energy drinks or merchandise that they sell. Before I go, have a great time. Drink Dubby and keep yapping. I'm Big C. Peace.